Welcome to the 2014 NSCAA Convention Opening Night Hangout. My name is Christine Mason, Marketing Manager at the NSCAA, and I'm joined by NSCAA Director of Coaching Education Ian Barker and U.S. Youth Soccer Director of Coaching Sam Snow. We're exactly 12 days away from the start of soccer's biggest party. If you haven't registered yet, you can still save $50 before January 15th when the price goes up on site. Registration is available online at nscaa.com/conventions/registration. Remember, you can tweet your questions to @NSCAA using the hashtag NSCAAPhilly, or you can email your questions to marketing@NSCAA. Ian, Sam, thanks for joining us today. We'll start off with a question directed at Ian. Ian, your topic is activities to increase speed of play and speed of thought in your opening night session on Wednesday. Can you give us an overview of your session and let us know what key takeaways you have in store for the attendees?
Sure, yeah. Planning the session based on the experience of last year at the convention and having been to many conventions and been an audience member, was trying to find a topic that maybe would speak to a pretty large audience and a pretty diverse one. Because on the Wednesday night, the options of sessions are relatively limited compared to Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I picked an attacking topic in the final third and looking at speed of play, different types of movements based off of primarily one striker, which seems to be very much in vogue in high-level professional soccer around the world, and seeing if some of these ideas could translate down to the youth coach of a under 10, under 11, under 12 team, as much as to a coach of a college team or possibly a PDL semi-pro team type thing. So I tried to find a topic that was in general interesting just in terms of the content, and then create an environment that was one that different people could perhaps adapt and take back to their own training environments.
Okay. And then Sam, same question. Your session is Soccernastics game-based training. What can attendees expect to hear from you?
Christine, it's going to be focusing on the technique of shooting. We're going to be working with under 12 players is the plan, and working to just show a variety of activities rather than a progression through a full training session per se. The idea is to show coaches a little bit further how we can use game-like activities as opposed to drills to work on technique, to work on ball skills, and in that to be able to ask players questions and give them different problems to solve within the activities that help them to not only think about the skill, the technique of shooting, but also some of the situations that they're in to recognize some of the right moments to pull the trigger, so to speak.
Okay. And Ian, opening night is such an exciting time. There's so much energy going around with that event. What are you most looking forward to at the event, and how do you prepare for the large crowd of coaches?
I think overall I'm looking forward to being done with my other responsibilities up to 6 o'clock or whenever the session begins. I think it's 6 o'clock. The opportunity to meet the kids that we'll be working with and just get to know them in 5 or 10 minutes before the session. And then when Jack Huckle, who's the president, finally introduces me, then you actually get to do the session. It's the anticipation and the build-up to the session which is a little bit more stressful. Actually delivering the session itself, once the people are seated and the kids are ready to go, is the highlight for me. So I'm looking forward to sort of 6:01 when we can actually do the session.
Okay. Okay. And Sam, knowing this isn't your first time on the convention floor, do you still get nervous when preparing for your session, and what are you most looking forward to?
Well, the first part of that question, yeah, you always get a little bit of butterflies. It's kind of like being a player or a coach just before kickoff at a match. If you don't have a few butterflies, then maybe you don't really care. So, yeah, there's always a little bit of that going on, and I echo what Ian was saying about enjoying the moments before session, getting to meet the players a little bit, because that's always an interesting part of what we have to do, is training a group of players whom we've never trained before, and they're meeting us for the first time, we're meeting them for the first time. So that's always a fun dynamic, and getting a chance to interact with those kids and enjoying it all once the session begins. I'm really looking forward to the different part for me a little bit this time around is how with the NSCAA Convention and the USU Soccer Workshop taking place side by side, is that we have kind of extended and expanded the week in terms of the education sessions for USU Soccer. We traditionally didn't begin those education sessions until Friday, and now beginning last year we went into Thursday afternoon, which we'll do again this year. And for me to have the opportunity to be there on opening night of the entire week and coming in after Ian's session is something I'm looking forward to for the Wednesday of the convention week.
Okay. Yeah, good, and thanks for pointing out that information. So, Ian, attendees can earn up to 4 coaching diplomas throughout the week. And you, as someone who spent many hours on the educational program, can you give us some insight as to how coaches would strategize their schedule to perhaps get all of these diplomas during the week, even though there's about a few more?
Sure. I think there's a pretty wide range of offerings. So coaches can come and get their US Soccer CEUs for attending sessions to upkeep their A license. But certainly there are various tracks, including tracks for grassroots youth and recreational player coaches, and certainly some management and some more theoretical lecture-based tracks as well. I think realistically, for a coach to enjoy the weekend or the week, I would pick no more than 2 tracks. I think it's actually physically possible to do 3 or 4, but I think you'd be really stretching it. So I would probably, if I was looking to go to the convention and pick up a diploma as professional growth and development, perhaps to get some compensation back from my athletic director, from my school, or whatever it may be, or my club, or my state association, I would certainly pick no more than 2 of those tracks, and then spend the rest of my time sampling from a very, very extensive menu, and perhaps sampling from stuff that maybe doesn't necessarily sound germane to what I'm doing in my environment, but maybe it's just something which tweaks my interest and is actually for my own personal growth and development as much as it is to take back to my club or my own environment.
Okay, good advice. And Sam, talk to us a little bit about the U.S. Youth Workshop. You've already touched on this some, but how can coaches at the event participate in it, and what events or sessions would you recommend?
Well, Christine, I think one of the great things about having the 2 events together is that anyone that's attending can go to any of the sessions. So there really is, as Ian pointed out, a really big set of sessions from which to choose. I think people need to plan a little bit ahead and take a look at all of the offerings as to what they want to go to. Specifically within the USU Soccer sessions, we'll have sessions not only for coaches but also for referees and for administrators. We will have one offering on the Saturday of the convention week, and that is if coaches want to earn their certification through Top Soccer. We have a coaching course, an introductory coaching course for Top Soccer, which is our program for disability players. We'll be giving that course. Austin Daniels will be the instructor. He's the technical director for Arizona Youth Soccer, and that's all day Saturday if coaches want to do that. And then I just wanted to point out there'll also be, you can't join in if you're not already signed up for it, but there'll be a group of people that will be working on their master's degree in soccer coaching, which is a degree that's offered through Ohio University in conjunction with the NSCAA. And so you'll have that group that will be around as well, doing some specific assignments throughout the week.
All right, thank you for that. And as they both mentioned, all this can be found on the master schedule when you go to the convention page. When you're sorting through this overwhelmingly large schedule, make sure to go in and customize and pick out some of those sessions. And then back over to Ian. What other events should coaches have on the radar for their week to maximize their experience? So outside of the X's and O's and technical side of things, what can they do to really take advantage of the full week and grow their coaching repertoire?
Sure. Well, I'm grateful to Sam for, whilst he was covering USU Soccer, certainly Top Soccer, which is close to my heart. the Ohio University program, which Sam alluded to, and we'll also have the University of Delaware Advanced Director of Coaching Diploma. That cohort of coaches will be doing their final presentations at the convention as well. So that's another high-end educational opportunity that people can go in and see and potentially sample as those people present. Certainly, all of the other meetings, for example, the MLS draft, I think is certainly worth seeing if you can pick up a little bit of the energy around that. I think the Philadelphia Union fan club is apparently coming to the convention to be around the draft, so I think that's great. The 4 versus 4 competition on Saturday, whether you compete in it or whether you just want to be a fly on the wall, I think is a massive highlight for a lot of people who go to the convention and are looking to let off a little physical steam at the 4v4. And then another really important part of the convention is obviously our vendor and exhibitor show. And there's a couple of unique opportunities this year for convention goers, people going to the workshop and the convention, to go down to the vendor floor in a more casual setting and interact with the vendors, sample some of the wares. And I think we're laying on some opportunity maybe for a soda and a bite to eat down in that area too. So I wouldn't limit myself as a convention workshop goer exclusively to the classroom or field sessions. I would really try to take advantage of a lot of the other meetings and events going on around the event.
Okay. And then, Sam, what's your biggest piece of networking advice for coaches attending this event?
Well, Christine, I can recall when it was a little easier to do than it is now, when you could walk around the vendor area and bump into everybody that you knew in soccer from around the U.S., but that was a long time ago, and I think nowadays, given the volume of people that will be there, part of your networking plan has to be to organize some of your meetings ahead of time, whether that be with vendors, whether that be with some of the clinicians, some of your colleagues from around the country. I've always enjoyed that piece that the NSCAA has done with having bulletin boards and so on, with things where whether it's bulletin board or internet or computer setup, for people to be able to take a look and see what kind of job opportunities are out there. There's many opportunities to still walk around the hallways and bump into a lot of people that you might know in soccer. And I got to tell you, I've been to a number of different soccer events around the world, and this is still one of the only ones that I can think of where you could be walking down the hall, bump into the coach from the local soccer club to a national team coach and everything in between. So the networking part is a great opportunity there, but I think coaches have to have it planned out a little bit more now just because of the large number of people that will be at this event in Philadelphia.
Okay. And Sam, I love to hear past stories about the convention and how it's transformed so much over the many years that we've had it. So question for both of you, and I'll start with Ian, just what is your favorite convention memory now that you've been to several, and why does that stick with you?
It's not a single memory, perhaps. It's really more walking the halls, catching up with new friends. We have a tendency as coaches to be incredibly friendly and chummy, and yet we really don't pay attention to our relationships, so we don't follow up with each other. And the convention is this really unique opportunity to catch up with old friends, have a cup of coffee, or a beer perhaps. But I think what Sam will tell you is, and this was my experience last year, the number of 15-minute meetings that became 45-minute meetings, 60-minute meetings is really quite high. So for me, much as it would be for Sam and for the presenters, it's managing our time, and the same for just the convention goers. But my overall highlight of the weekend or the week is this opportunity to reconnect with people that we always promise we're going to reconnect with, but really the convention is the time when you honor that promise, because you simply do see pretty much everybody that you've mentored or has mentored you, and everybody in between during that 5-6 day period.
Okay. And then Sam, I'm going to change this up for you a little bit. So when we have a lot of new up-and-coming coaches coming to the event this year. It's growing each year, the number of young coaches that get touched by this event. With our 30 Under 30 program, our student registration, and the FC diploma, the Future Coach diploma, has really brought a lot of young up-and-coming coaches to this event. So taking maybe your best memory that you had as a young coach going to the event and telling them what that memory was, and then what advice do you have for them because of that memory. What did that do for you as a coach looking to make a career of coaching?
Looking back, certainly all of it, all the way through, are the personal connections, as Ian's been discussing a little bit, with the friends that you have and new ones that you might be making. I think part of what I would say to coaches that are coming in for their first or second time to this event, to take a look at the schedule and take a look for a few of the sessions that might not be immediately on your personal radar. For me, long ago, it was as a young college coach, and so I was looking more for a lot of the things initially that were kind of college related, and I got the advice and made the effort to go to a few of the other sessions that perhaps were more youth-related or high school-related, if you will, and that helped a lot for me to make some new connections that I probably wouldn't have made otherwise.
Let's pick up with the best session you've ever attended at the convention and why, and I'm going to kick that one to Sam first. What's the best convention session you've ever attended?
Thank you for sending that to Sam first.
I mean, other than the one that I'll see Ian doing here in about 10 days, I've seen a lot of good ones over the years, from Carlos Pereira to Tom Fleck, to one of the ones that probably stands out for me is with Bob Gansler. And so I know I'm going back a few years, but perhaps it was a factor of where I was at that point in my coaching career and the things that I was learning and the such. But Bob's presence as a professional, the way that he was able to interact with both the audience and with the players on the field, the fine points that he was able to get across, the fine coaching points that you're able to pick up from watching a coach of that caliber. So that's one of the ones that for me has stood out among many, many very good ones. Keeping in mind I've been going since 1980, so I've seen a bunch of sessions.
Okay, well, good. Thank you for that. And Ian, now it's on you.
Yeah, I mean, if we just talk exclusively American-based coaches for now, because the list would go on if we went to all of our foreign presenters, but there are icons such as Bob Gansler, certainly Dr. Tom Fleck, who was a master with the younger players particularly. Two presenters that whenever I get a chance to see them always resonate with me as being amongst the finest clinicians, because what you see at the convention, at the workshop, is not necessarily a model training session, but it is a coach working with players for the benefit of an audience that might be 1,500, 2,000 people at times. So it's a very difficult environment. But two people that always pull it off, and I would personally pay to go see, would be Janet Rayfield and Jay Miller. Those are two of the people that every time I see their session, I know I'm going to get good value. So there's just two names that come to mind. Okay,
great, good ones. And now that you did talk about international clinicians, and we do have a variety of those this year, who are some of the names that people should be looking out for, and who should they? That question.
Yeah, there's so many. So I don't mean to be disrespectful in obviously the majority that I'll miss here. Dick Bate is invited back by popular demand for the quality of his sessions and the pure detail. So Dick Bate, Romeo Jozak, who has gone from Dynamo Zagreb since he last presented at the convention last year and is now the technical director for the Croatian Federation, is an amazing clinician with great technical detail and really energetic sessions. And I think a lot of us are interested to see Coach Lalin from Real Madrid, Coach Dremler from Bayern Munich, and Miguel Cardasso, who's coming from Shakhtar Donetsk. Those are some of the names. Emma Hayes is coming from Chelsea Ladies in Great Britain. So there's just a fantastic representation of federations from around the world, CONCACAF obviously and UEFA, but we'll have members from presenters and visitors from the Asian Federation, from Oceania, and from South America. Not sure if we have anybody from the African Congress coming, but it's very much an international event for sure.
Great. Okay, and we are getting close to that 30-minute mark, so Sam, do you have any kind of final words for coaches about this upcoming convention that you want to share?
Absolutely. I would say, just take advantage of it. Even those early morning sessions, which I know is difficult for some coaches to get to, but maybe even some of those early morning meetings is where sometimes you're making those contacts that are going to help you further your career along. So don't miss some of those, and just take advantage of the wide variety of offerings that they're there now underneath the heading of both coaching sessions and administrator and referee sessions, and even some of the awards banquets and so on that take place. It's another great place to network further.
Okay,
thank you. And Ian, final words?
Final words. There's a lot of time between now and the convention starting. We have 450 coaches and instructors doing courses around America in the next week, 10 days. So we'll be doing that before we go to convention. But the great thing is Sam's doing courses, he was just mentioning, in Arizona and Utah in the next week or so. We're doing them in Sacramento, Kentucky, and Fort Lauderdale. So the enthusiasm for coach education amongst the American soccer community is off the charts. So the work we're doing between now and convention, it's a pretty good couple of weeks for coach education in America.
Okay, great. Well, thank you both so much for your words to the coaches today. I know it's very helpful. I want to remind everybody that, don't forget, we're still 12 days away from soccer's biggest party. If you haven't registered yet, you can still save $50. That price does go up on site. So that's January 15th is opening day, so make sure to get your registration in online and save some money. Also, it saves you some time waiting in line and other hassles that you won't have to deal with on site if you pre-register. Don't forget to check out the full master schedule. You can create a customized schedule online. There's a full list of clinicians. There's a new app to download that we're very excited about. Thanks to our partner QuickGoal, we were able to create another convention app for the attendees this year, and we'll be sending out information on that. We're also doing live coverage of our event, so again, go to the nscaa.com/convention, check out the drop-down, see the 2014 highlights. So if you are unable to make it this year, you can still catch some of the action from home. Thanks again for tuning in today. If you missed this recording or gave up when it went offline, there will be a full recording posted to nscaa.com, also our Google Plus page, and we will tweet that out when it's available. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll hope to see you in Philly on January 15th through the 19th.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Sam.